Welcome to the Full Charge Power Hour. I'm Matt Fulcheron. I got Brian Irwin here.
Oh, hey.
I got Tyler Ross here.
What's up?
Pledge on Patreon, patreon.com/the full charge. And make sure you vote this election. And I don't want to tell you who to vote for, but look careful. Make sure your candidate doesn't have any felonies under his belt, because you never know sometimes.
Yeah,
That's just a suggestion that you really should follow.
You know, that's a good way of looking at it.
Tyler Ross
What's up?
is our sitting guest today.
Yeah, excited to be here.
I met Tyler at a very unique comedy club in Cuyahoga Falls, Ohio, which is basically a suburb of Akron?
Yeah, it's pretty much Akron.
Yeah. And it's a unique club because of the guy that ran it, who has since passed. I think last year he died. I don't know his last name even. I should have looked it up. His name's Pete.
I don't think anyone knows his last name. I think people think they do, but it's never correct. And even like throughout all the years I've known him, I don't think I've ever referred to his last name or the whole family, honestly.
It's just...
It's really Lebanese, and I never say it right.
And so people just say...
Very American of you guys. It's just a very complicated last name. Let's just
it's also
not even try to know it.
It's also very American of him. Like, he didn't go around throwing his last name around.
He'd use the club's Twitter account to attack Lebanese politicians that would, like we would do, like someone would, like underneath like Marjorie Taylor Greene, he in Lebanese from the comedy club's Twitter account would like be responding to like news or politicians in Lebanese. And you'd be like, how do I get booked at this club? Do I have to learn Lebanese? Or like it was just the best.
I like how that was your sole focus. It wasn't what he was doing with the account and how that was not good marketing. All you cared about was, how do I get a hold of this guy to get some stage time? That's very stand-up comedy of you. That's great.
It's all about number one. So.
Well, yeah, definitely. And he had all kinds of weird things like that. Like his email was Lucy at such and such. I don't want to say. It was Lucy at another club in Ohio.
Well, and to be fair, it used to be called this other club, and then they changed the name of it, and they were like, you know what? We changed the name. We cannot do a new email. That's just too much.
So he was not Lucy, and he was not...
Nor was his wife.
And he wasn't the other club's name.
Okay.
And so it was always very confusing.
Was it a good club when you performed there?
No.
Okay, good.
No, so this is
Excellent.
what we're getting at. And this is the beauty of it. This is what's great about it, and what's horrible about it are the same thing. So it's fun to play someplace where you don't care if you're going to get fired. You don't care if you're coming back. You don't care like how well you do.
Okay.
And the audience is usually pretty great.
That's what I was talking about. So they had good audiences. Okay.
I wouldn't call them good. It was just kind of like...
They were there.
You could use them for what they were good for. They would definitely like laugh. There's always like one off show a week.
Yeah.
When you're there. But the point is, he'll start the show. The MC will go up, and he will shout from the back of the room like, "No cursing! Stop cursing when you're talking to the audience."
Okay, so it's like you're actually at someone's house, and the dad is yelling at you from the other room.
That is the perfect representation of it, because his wife is like the front door person. So what would happen is someone would come in and be like, hey, we got told we have like 2 for 1 or whatever. And you'd watch in front of a customer. They both go back and forth in Lebanese and go, okay, yeah, we'll do 2 for 1. And then, I mean, I would do amateur night. And like you said, he would be screaming from the back. He'd be like cutting people's mic and be like, amateurs, do not talk about religion or politics. And just be like, and you're done. And like, it really would be like, it's his house that he's concluding a comedy show.
So he wasn't the sound guy, but he would still do the announcements, like be like, all right, you motherfuckers, you ready for the comedy show?
He just
this
swore.
is not an exaggeration.
He's allowed.
No, he's allowed to curse. I'm allowed to curse as the headliner. Amateurs, you're not allowed to grow here.
Oh, okay.
You are not allowed to
Did he like comedy?
He liked being the boss.
He liked
running the room.
He's that guy that he doesn't want to be up but wants to roast from the side, but never has to be in the spotlight. Like, he loves like doing zings, and if you would like be there for a weekend, he'd probably say the same zing about the host like 5 times throughout the weekend.
And here is the major flaw. There's no way to take this aspect of the club was that there's a bar in the next room of the showroom, okay? And there's no door. That's one thing. There's no door, which is good for the wait staff, but it's not great for the comic on stage. On top of that, just to add to the distraction, The wall that separates the club from the bar is plexiglass. So you
Oh.
can see everybody in the bar. That's one thing. You can hear.
If it's frozen drink night at the club, you're gonna
Oh,
have a rough time on
God.
set.
And
The blender becomes almost the main act.
and so, it sucks when the people in the bar start getting rowdy and you can hear the bleed through. But when it's fucking Pete and they're like, I tell you motherfuckers how to do comedy. He's just shouting and you're up on stage on a late Friday set. And he also likes to do, rest in peace, Pete. I love you. He likes to do spread gossip about local comics that you don't know.
Okay.
And it's always the same gossip. So, like, you'll show up to the club and he'll be like, what's up, Matt? Chad Zumock is gay. He's gay.
I know, Chad.
And so you're going, like, okay, like, where do I start with this? Like, first of all, it's 2020, or it was like 2017 at the time. Like, it's not the sickest burn
Right.
in the world anymore. If the man is gay, the man is gay, even in Akron, Ohio. And on top of that, he'll then tell you why he knows
Okay.
Chad and you can say this to anybody. I'm just using Chad as an example because that's the example he used the most. Shouts out to Chad Zumock. How you doing, buddy? If you're listening, he will be like, Chad this girl wanted to talk to Chad. Chad just went to his hotel room, went to sleep. He's gay.
I think it was the weekend we worked together. They have a 6-disc changer that they use every single time. It plays that like Jock Jam start to open, and at the pre-show, it's like this weird one hits that they randomly
Right.
found. Chad had like switched to CD to play like at the end of the show,
Yeah.
and instead of like the intro music, it just turns on this like random Chad Zumock original that I think starts with like all you bitches. That's how the Friday like early show starts, is he push plays and it just starts, turns it down, figures he doesn't know how to change it, turns it just a little up, goes, fuck Chad Zumock. Your headliner tonight is Matt Boja, he's from LA, and then just goes right into it. Friday early show. And meanwhile you have like a crowd full of people being like, what am I here for? What is going on?
And then there's also a crowd that just knows what they're in for.
Yeah.
And they like the Pete aspect.
They like the chaos of it.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, look, at the end of the day, you guys have these stories to share forever.
Mm-hmm.
He may have been weird, but he wasn't boring.
I think he's somebody that connects like comics that I know travel, because if you've like done the funny stop, you have a story for it.
Right.
Like I have not met a comic that's been around or done like a good amount of like traveling who hasn't done that club. That's not like, and when I was there, here's 5 minutes like I'm about to tell you, because
Yeah.
we buried the lead. His brother is the chef
Right.
for the comedy club who speaks less English than him and has
Yeah.
called me a different name every time I've been there for like the past 14 years. Those are, Ralph, good to see you. You working this weekend? Hey, Matt, good to see you. Like, and I'm like, I'm not Matt, but just the sweetest guy. And then they also own a cigar shop. So that's
This
the
is
whole
all
thing.
still in existence, even though he has passed on?
Correct.
It still exists.
Okay.
Yeah.
Family still
Yeah.
owns it.
Still owns it.
Okay.
And it's also it's important.
This is the land of LeBron James, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
You're very
kind
close
of
to it,
sort of
yeah.
adjacent.
Adjacent, okay.
Yeah. But it's also key that it's not called The Funny Stop. It's just called Funny Stop. And then the morning radio was just like, dude, they had the nicest DJs who were totally sweethearts. And then while you're waiting on the phone or like with the headphones on, it's just like doomsday, like right-wing propaganda, like tanks rolled down the street in New York City today as the entire
Or they
country
find,
is
like,
turning to hell.
The weirdest clip of you ever. Like I have like a full like regular album put out, and they were like, yeah, we're gonna play a quick clip from Tyler, and they pulled like one from like 12 years ago, buried the deepest on my YouTube
Right,
that they
yeah.
could find, and was like, you
Yeah.
had to have tried to find such a wrong video to
Yeah.
play right now.
Totally,
so
man.
it's a full fun weekend. You just get to enjoy and you
Yeah.
know write home to your friends about.
Okay.
It's a no pressure. It's a no pressure week,
Okay.
you know, and it's pretty fun. And yeah, probably shouldn't get too much into it. But he'd always pay
It's
like
the club I started at when I was coming up, so it like means the world to me, and everything I say like this is only said in like love. I love this place, and all the fun stories are like the character of it. And if you're like, oh, I would never do that, well then you're stupid and you don't love comedy. Like half of
you
it
got to
is-
do it once.
Yeah, exactly.
It
gotta
sounds
do it
like this.
once.
It's in a conservative area.
I mean, You could call it
Yes,
that.
the town.
And the only reason why I bring that up is because actually, I think, because I come from Milwaukee, I actually think it's better as a comedian to get your feet wet in the conservative
Well, yeah.
city versus a little bit more liberal. Because more liberal, they're going to give you. They're going to make it a little bit easier for you.
Yeah.
The conservative sense of humor, they're a little bit more. They're literally, truly conservative, and you really got to work
It
them a little
Especially
bit
if it's
hard.
It
opposite
depends.
viewpoints.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it also
I'm not even talking about political. I'm just saying,
Yeah.
just in general.
Oh, I
you know,
see.
that you just got to work it. You
there's
gotta work a
there's
little bit
another
harder.
side to that though, because if you go to San Francisco, the liberal audience
That's
will
too
be
much.
Well, it's just an example, okay, and it's an extreme example.
Yeah.
They'll be upset. They'll be if you make fun of anybody, even if you're punching up, they'll be like, "Well, I don't know." Whereas like conservative people don't care who you're making fun of as long as you're not making fun of them.
Right. And sometimes
They don't feel bad for like anyone you might be making
I think
fun
that's
of.
the problem, though, is sometimes they're not quite sure whether or not you're making fun of them, so they
Yeah.
hold back a little bit. But again, it's okay,
right.
right? I think it's actually okay. It helps build the muscle. It's like open mics. It's about.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be easy.
It never
Never send the message that comedy's easy because that's just the wrong.
It
path.
never is, honestly. You're playing a conservative town, you're playing a liberal town. It's just never easy, and you have to have like both muscles.
Yep.
It's crazy. You have to be ambidextrous nowadays. Back fucking 10 years ago, it didn't matter.
No.
I did the road. I tried to do the road for cheap this week because like I got this gig in Atlantic City that used to be just a drive to make a pretty good profit.
Right.
And now I was just doing it just to do it, and the airfare like took about like 30 to 40% of my profit like right off the bat,
Okay.
which means I had to make my ground travel work out, which means I was going to take public transportation
Okay.
to Burbank Airport, which
Okay.
isn't that bad from where I live. But I got caught up in the cleaning the apartment because I like to come back to a clean apartment, and
Okay.
my wife was going to be coming back, and you can't let your wife know how you've been living when she's gone. There has to be no evidence.
Well, it wasn't like it was the skateboarder crackheads that you had loaned.
No, it
us.
wasn't.
You're not going to be that bad.
It wasn't bad, but it's amazing how quickly things just go to full counter space in a matter of like 2 days. Once there's nobody else, I do it as like kind of example. Like I'm gonna be neat, so my wife's gonna be neat, and then we're both gonna be neat.
Accountability
But when
partners.
but when there's nobody, it was just like, so and it's just like you can clean. You're never done cleaning, so it's like right up to the wire and packing. So I'm like, all right, Uber, that's $55 right there.
Cha-ching. Yeah.
Just really eating into it. And then I end up going, and then I bought layover tickets for cheap too. So I'm doing a red eye to Philly Airport,
Okay.
which isn't exactly close to Atlantic City. So I stop over in Arizona, in Phoenix, and I get a pizza, which is kind of expensive. It's like $20. I'm like, well, I better get a salad. Boom, $36.
Why don't you just pay for a nonstop at that point if you're going to be buying a bunch of stuff along the way?
This is what I'm telling you.
It feels so much like it's all gonna work out a week before, and then when you're in it, and then especially with the ground travel versus Uber, like
Yeah.
it makes sense on the way back. Like I don't want to wait any longer to get home. I want to get home.
Right.
Uber's a yes no matter what.
Right.
To leave, you should be like, oh, I have a million of time to save, and then
Yeah.
yeah.
Did you
but-
buy some magazines and a neck
No,
pillow?
I
and-
didn't.
Okay.
Because I'm already like
An iPod.
No, I'm already like, oh, you set back like fault, two faults. So I get to Philadelphia at like 7 in the morning, which is really 4 in the morning for me, and I'm like, you got to take a train to the train station to take a train to Atlantic City. But at this point, I got to do it because I cannot get an Uber to Atlantic City. It's like $150.
Yeah.
It's just not happening. And theoretically, I have all day. But I'm going to the train. I've done this before.
Okay.
And I'm like, you know what? I better go to the bathroom really quick
Okay.
while I have the opportunity. Big mistake because I go there, and while I'm getting a ticket, the train pulls up and leaves without me before I can really get to buy a ticket.
Okay.
So I'm like, it's okay. It's the Northeast, man. These things are quick. It's another half hour
Okay.
before this train comes, which means I miss the window for the train to Atlantic City, which means I now have to stay at 30th Street Station for an hour and 15 minutes. But I got there for $20.
Okay.
And as soon as I got to Atlantic City, I jumped on a shuttle for $3. No Uber.
Okay.
I did that. I pulled that off.
You lost a lot of your life during that journey, but that's okay.
I did, from stress and
Are you someone
and
that
no
like,
rest.
okay, I know I have this amount of time. You're like, I guess I'll work on stuff that I would have to later do, or you just like putz around on your phone and be like angry waiting out the time. Like, well, how does your brain shift in that like extra time?
Well, on this one, I decided not to do any work while I was sitting down, just because it can be fruitful, but it's usually just, I didn't want to do it this time. I
so you
just
just
gave
people
that.
watch? What'd you do?
I'm at a place now where I can just take a deep breath and go, this is how it is,
And
man.
just sit there.
This is how it is.
What-
So I never got upset. The worst I got was concerned, like, you're not going to get enough sleep, you're going to get sick. But I never stressed out about it.
All right.
Just kind of keeping score, though. You know, and I don't like that I'm keeping score. I'd love to just be splurging. And then just side note, I made a legal drug deal at the Borgata. I hit up, instead of getting an Uber into town to go to a dispensary, I placed an order for delivery. They called me from a Malaysian phone line. With I think a voice distorter. I don't know why, because weed's legal in
I'm listening.
New Jersey.
Okay.
Woman pulls up to the valet section of the Borgata, gets out. We exchange money and drugs
Okay.
in front of everybody.
Define drugs.
Marijuana, cannabis.
As I say, it kind of spiraled quick when you just said we exchanged drugs. So maybe.
Well, it's like going to drug addict fantasy camp. Like I never bought weed before it was legal.
Okay.
So this was like very exciting for
This
me.
is your first time having a delivery service.
And it's just out in the open. It was kind of a cool feeling.
Yeah. So you felt empowered.
I just felt like a safe outlaw. I felt like an outlaw that wasn't going to get in any trouble. No, I really just was like, wow, we've really come a long way as a society where I can buy weed at the valet section of the Borgata, not even the back door. I offered the back door. They were like, nah.
We're good. We've done this before, sir.
I got to catch a train. So this is how. So I went to New York to do a couple spots, and I got to catch a train. See, I don't do Greyhound buses anymore because they will just leave you, even if you have a ticket. They'll be like, "There's no room on this bus. You're not on this bus," and then you're just.
It's also
stranded
the
there.
last place where people go, oh yeah, I don't care about my neighbor. I'm going to continue to behave exactly how I want. I feel like all the other forms of transportation, like public bus, like exceptions obviously, but like megabus, you know, Amtrak, flight, people are like, okay, I have to kind of follow the rules. On a Greyhound, people are like, I'm doing a full like sex phone conversation right next to you. I don't have headphones in. I do not care. This is how your next 3 hours will be. And you're like, I guess I'm stuck here. Like,
You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Like if somebody wants to blast shit out of their phone, not even a song, just their TikToks, you're screwed. There's nobody going up and down the aisle. The bus driver doesn't care. And Greyhound is also notorious too, where they do that thing where like, yeah, there's 2 seats here, but I'm going to sit at the outside, so you can't. So you have to like make an effort to go in. They're basically like claiming their whole thing. But anyway, so I take the long way to New York now. I go to 30th Station the same way I came. I take a New Jersey Transit to 30th Station, then I take it to Penn Station. It takes like 4 hours, but a Greyhound takes 3, and there's like a guy walking up down the aisles at the train, and it only cost me like $60.
4
total.
hours to get there.
Yeah.
Okay. And how long did you stay?
In New York, 2 days. But we're
days.
getting ahead of ourselves here because
Okay, sorry.
I walked out.
I thought this was the night.
No.
before you were
Okay, so
performing.
I did
All
3
right.
days of the Borgata.
And then you were done.
Now I'm going to New York City.
Got it.
And so I walk out of the Borgata, all checked out. I got my travel light, my carry-on, and my personal item. And I see, and I'm like, okay, let's try to save some money. Am I taking an Uber to the train station, or am I lucky enough to get a shuttle? I see a shuttle. I go up to the guy. I'm like, you go to the train station? He goes, yeah, I can drop you off like half a block away. And then I'm like, great, because the train station's only like 2 miles away. So I'm like, this is perfect. Meanwhile, we go into Atlantic City and we're going all over town. We're not going like straight to the train station. But I'm getting into that gray area of, do I get off and get an Uber? Or do I like just stay on? Because clearly this has got to get to the train station at some point. And I just stayed on. I bet on the horse I was already on, and I got out, but the guy was full of shit. It wasn't half a block. I don't know why he was trying to soften the blow. It was 5 blocks, and so
Did you tip him out for that extra 5?
fuck no
Okay,
tip,
all right.
no tip. So I go and I get there 10 minutes. You know, I'm sweating. I get there 10 minutes and I go, oh, you know what though? You better get some food for this trip. And now I put myself in another predicament. I order the sandwich and then there's 10 minutes until the train leaves.
Oh.
Don't fret. They call boarding and then they're like, Matt, and I got my sandwich
Okay.
and I got
All right, that was close though.
everything was fine.
That was close.
I got to New York, and I had this. Everyone talks about how great it is that you can do so many spots in one night in New York, but it's actually kind of a pain in the ass because you have to like go around town to get to them. And so I was doing this one club in Williamsburg. It's supposed to start at 7, and then I have another spot in the East Village, which is my spot's at 8:10. So I'm like, let's start the show. Shows never start on time. We're going up in front of 6 people. I'm like, let me go up first. I go up first. I have a really fun set. But now I got to take an Uber. Boom, Uber to the
Can't
East
escape 'em.
Village. I get to the East Village, and I'm like, yeah, I think I'm going up first. They're like, there's the lineup right there. I'm not on the lineup.
Oh boy.
And then I go up to the podium. He goes, you look familiar. Let me double check. He's like, no, you're not on the show. So I'm like, all right, fuck it. I'll go see my friends. They're running a show on the Lower East Side. But then I'm like, you know what, buddy? You really got to let them know that we're kind of fucked over here. You had to juggle all around. I did rush hour to Williamsburg. I spent the $30 on the Uber. I'm like, hey, I sent an email to the booker. Just so you know, you kind of screwed me. I didn't use words like that. It was like, it was like very office skilled.
Okay.
Like, hey, not to be a pain in the ass or anything, but you should know that I spent $30 to get to this spot, and they just sent back. Like, I wasn't looking for a reimbursement or anything. And then they were just like, you should have talked to a manager.
I didn't think of that. I showed up, didn't see my name on the list, and walked out. Yeah, okay.
I talked to a manager. I'm not just going to meekly look at the lineup and be like, well, I guess I'm nobody then. And, but now they want me to Karen and do the whole thing. Anyway, no big deal. They give me $20 to offset my $30.
All right.
That's what the spot would have paid. Don't get into stand-up comedy, folks. That's what you're making in the most competitive
It's
city in
mostly
the
just
world.
traveling.
Yeah,
You're just
right.
more of a traveler
Right.
who tells some jokes from time to time.
Yeah. So then I'm like, all right, I really got to make up for this on the back end financially.
So you're really focused on making
Public
up for this guy.
transportation.
Okay.
Well, I've already siphoned actually, if you really look at it, it's just the Uber that I got reimbursed. It's really just the Burbank that I'm unhappy with. That fat ass $55, $60 bill, like right up front, like really.
So
burns me.
this whole journey is about making up that $55 to $60.
It's on my mind, which I'm not normally like this anymore.
Okay.
But now I'm like, dude, my profit is. I don't want my profit to be cut in more than half.
Okay.
Do you understand? So I'm like really, and so
It's in that fickle thing where I'm sure you're also like, man, if someone would just have bought me a lunch, in my head I go, that was $20 off the 55.
I'm gonna give you something
What
else.
I force you.
I'm gonna give you something else.
Let's hear it.
I actually was good at the Borgata and ate at the cafeteria for free all weekend long.
There you go.
Sometimes it was because I waited too long and restaurants were closed, but nonetheless, I saved about money on about 6 or 7 meals.
Okay.
So
All
I
right.
got to give myself that.
Yep. Give it to me. Yeah.
Then I look at I'm like, oh, but man, am I feeling fucking lazy? Because I'm staying in a friend's apartment and I had to clean up that apartment. Same deal.
Okay.
Look at the Uber. It's like $60 to get to LaGuardia. And I'm like, I'm doing it. I'm doing it. I'm going to Grand Central with my, and it's such a handicap to have luggage at Grand Central. And but I'm like, I'm doing it. I get into Queens, get on the wrong bus to the airport, have to get an Uber anyway. But it's only like $20. It's only like $20.
All right. Okay. Okay.
Then I land at Burbank and I'm like, I heard there's a train that goes to Glendale, but my phone's not pulling it up. Do you know what I mean? You have
Yes.
to, and so.
And you're on
I'm
the
like-
clock. You're on the
I'm
clock.
like, all there is a bus. And all of a sudden it's like $50 from Burbank to 9 miles down the street. Like Uber isn't cheap anymore.
No, and remember, remember you and I had this conversation. You didn't have a car for the longest time
Yeah,
because
right.
you ran the numbers.
Yeah.
And there was a time where rideshare was way cheaper than owning a car and paying for insurance.
Well, if you're out of town half the year,
yeah.
and there back then there was, and I think they're bringing it back, but there was that the when you say ride share, like ride share for real, like what was that called?
Uber Pool.
Uber Pool.
Yeah.
You could get in there, you can meet a couple people, a couple drunk people.
Yeah.
Dude,
You
I
know?
had a baby be one of my co-passengers for one of those. Someone
Okay,
had put
that's
like
weird, but okay.
a kid in like a car seat and like a 5-year-old.
Wait,
and
Where was the parents? Were you the parent by de facto? By default?
I guess I became babysitter because I get in this Uber and like
and the parent was not the driver.
no. So check this. There's a woman in the front seat, the guy driving, child, baby.
And you.
We're driving a little bit. At some point, I'm awkward. I'm like 20, and I'm like, my first thought, this must be the Uber's kids.
Yeah.
Like he couldn't find someone, whatever. We get driving, drops him off. He's like, yeah, some aunt or something put them in the Uber. I thought she was gonna like get in, closes the door, walks away. So now he's like, what do I do? Do I try to go grab her, or do I just keep going to the destination
It's
to get rid of these
50% kidnapping,
kids?
but keep going.
you call the police.
Yeah, he just was like, well, I guess I have to get them to the destination.
No,
they're
What?
supposed
No, and you are
that was
complicit.
his
You
thought.
are a criminal.
Well,
you
I'm-
too. You
I hope the
joined.
statute of limitation is up.
Where
That's
was
just
this?
unaccompanied,
Chicago.
unaccompanied minors. You remember? People
Yeah.
used to fly kids on their own.
A
Oh,
baby
yeah.
though,
No.
dude.
But in,
In a
but
car
in
seat.
Uber,
Where was this?
In Chicago. It was like, and it was like Monday at like
Wait,
10 o'clock
did
at
you
night.
follow up with the family? Do you still in contact with the children?
You know what? We didn't exchange information. He had a little iPad, of course, but I didn't get his WhatsApp or
Yeah,
Froggy.
okay. You should have stayed in
paw.
touch just to make sure.
he's like 15 by now.
It was just some like angry woman like hauling two kids
Dude.
out of the car, and I think I felt that for that driver. He was like, please let nothing happen. Please not. I'm sure that's all he could think the entire time. But yeah, Uber Pool.
And you got out before the kids ever got
No, yeah, they got out first.
out. Oh, so,
and then
so
we
what
got to drive.
happened?
Some random woman, I mean not random, I would assume, but the person connected to the other side of the Uber app once we like stopped at like literally a gas station, if I'm remembering
Okay,
it
this
correctly.
is a crime.
I mean,
You're
I have
not
to turn-
describing Uber Pool. You were describing
turn
well,
this
I'm
in.
glad they brought it back. That's all I'm trying to
it's
say.
a crime.
This is like baby delivery.
It was
Well,
well,
like
and,
too lazy to finish the
No,
crime.
that's a soft way of putting it.
and the woman was like drunk in the front going to like karaoke
Okay.
because it was
Yeah.
like at night. So again, separate person. We're all three
Right.
separate like entities in this Uber and a driver. So yeah, it was like the weirdest exchange I've ever had. But
That's one way of putting
you could
it.
just use the app however you want, I guess.
That's crazy. I'm gonna.
So you were saying it's cheaper. Go ahead.
I'm gonna make the rest of the story short because we got to get to Cliff Cash. But I found the bus stop at Burbank Airport. It's not easy, and bus pulls up, and he's like, he just starts pointing like 50 feet down the street, and I'm like, he's like. And then he just takes off and goes to there, and I meet him over there. And like, it's just after this long day of travel, just you don't want to put up with bullshit like this when he goes, you have to stop at the bus stop. I can't pick you up if it's not at the bus stop. And you just want to be like, you know what, motherfucker? Fuck you.
Yeah.
Who cares?
Yeah.
Who cares? Whether I get picked up here or there. Here's your $2 But again, I keep my calm.
$2.
Again, I'm kind of on the wrong bus because it has to go like through Universal City, whatever. I get out, I get picked up at a gas station, and I'm home. And listen, it was a cheaper Uber, so I cut my costs down, but I did not win. All in all, I spent about a little over $100 on Ubers, and I don't think that's bad.
And lost 100 years in lifespan.
No, I know it's not worth it. But like, here's the fucking podcast for the week. We're gonna go to Cliff Cash, who just put out a special called. I just watched it yesterday. It's called The Long Road, and let's get this guy on here before I start kissing his ass because I want him to hear all the nice things I have to say about him and this special. I'm wearing a shirt for my luggage. You know,
Yeah.
like I put the dirty laundry in a plastic bag, but
Okay,
it's
but
still. And this is dirty laundry too. I don't know if you have dirty laundry that you don't consider dirty until you wear it about 6 or 7 times.
yeah.
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 That's this is my flannel shirt and
Okay.
in these jeans.
Usually it's never it's a second layer because then you figure like the body really
Right.
didn't
Right.
stank it up. You
Yeah.
know, there was a layer.
This has been a second layer all week,
Mm,
and now it's down to first.
yeah.
And
First team. It's first team now. It's gonna have to be
Yeah,
washed.
this-
You're done.
this is going in the washing machine at this point. 2 glasses of wine last night. Couldn't
Oh.
sleep.
The wife home now. So when you got home, was the wife home?
I got home like a half an hour before she did. She landed at LAX at the same time.
So okay, so you cleaned, came home to the clean house that you cleaned first.
Beautiful, yeah.
You mussed it up a little bit
It's an
before she got
absolute wreck right now. Because 2 people just came home from a
there. It
trip.
just blew up.
Yeah, just
Just blew it up.
everything's is just like
I try to have like a strict like I am allowed to have one whole day where the suitcases and stuff lay out,
Yeah.
and then the
No.
day after I'm on it.
No.
Like,
here's my only
There is
discipline.
no day.
You can't do that.
No.
My discipline is I open the suitcase and get something out of it and then close it and put it back. I refuse to do the open suitcase thing. Still not great.
Ever. Like not you're not someone at home when you bring home. You're talking about even when you travel. You're a zipper. You zip it up.
I've gotten to the point now where when I travel, I put everything in the dresser.
You do. You actually use
Yeah,
the dressers.
yeah,
I
yeah,
don't.
yeah,
I
yeah.
don't ever.
Finally there. For the longest time, I never did
I never
that.
really understood it. I'm like, you're not staying long enough. I never felt I
If
stayed long
If you're
enough.
somewhere
to-
for 3 or 4 days,
yeah, that's not long enough.
it's just like, let's make this a home.
I just leave it there because I want to be ready to go at a moment's notice. I want
Yeah.
out. I want out of this fucking
You're
shit.
just like, I'm fired. I'm out of here.
You always got to be ready.
Yeah.
Right.
You do, but like you still have to repack if you go in there looking for
No,
that
just
that
fold it,
special
zip it and go.
shirt or whatever.
I've seen enough espionage movies where I might get caught in a situation where either someone's going to need me to help, save the world, and or I've been misidentified,
Yeah.
and now I'm on the run. So
would-
you have to be ready at all times.
I would love to see you in an action movie.
I don't think anybody would.
It'd be crazier than that Bob Odenkirk.
Would not be
one.
good at all. I have a bad knee right now, and so it wouldn't be fun to see me in an action movie.
It's kind of fun. I'm watching
Yeah.
the Penguin right now. He seems to get around.
Oh, is he a limper with
He's
the
a
king?
limper,
Okay,
yeah.
I haven't
Like,
seen
that's
it
why they
yet,
call him
so-
the Penguin.
That'd be more of a waddle. So does he waddle? Is he
Yeah.
waddling or is he limping?
He waddles.
He
like
waddles.
this.
Okay, I don't waddle.
Yeah.
I just complain about my knee all the time, and then I see people with real fucking limps, and then I
Yeah.
feel bad that I've been bitching the whole time.
Right.
There was somebody yesterday. I was on a scout, and we were going up this long road of stairs, and I was like, and she had a cane and everything, and I was like, you know what? I think we're going the wrong way. We got to go back down and go around. And so turn around, and I'm like, you know what? I actually think we were going the right way. And she literally was like,
Oh my
Hey,
god.
dude. it's really hard for me to walk. I really wish you would know where you were going. And I felt
Yeah.
so bad because she was just like, I'm in pain.
Yeah.
None of this is
That-
funny. Like some people
that's-
are like, I don't care. I'm going to yell
It's
at you
not-
because
it's
this
not-
fucking hurts.
That's not putting a baby in an Uber bed.
No.
but-
no. That is
It's
still a
not
crime.
great
That's
either.
still some sort of trafficking issues that we'll get to at some point.
Aaron, are we having trouble with Cliff?
I sent him the link, so we're just waiting on him.
That story would have been better if you would have been like, and that's how I got a new brother. Like, that would have been a way better ending to that story of like my brother, Steven.
It could have been a black market adoption for all.
That's
we know.
what I.
This
that's
is what
the
I'm
words
saying.
I was
Aaron
looking
knows.
See,
at least I'm not the only one who thought there could have been a crime happening here. And
When I've told it on
you're
stage,
complicit.
my like conclusion has been like, I think that should just be the ad for when they bring Uber Pool back. It's like
Yeah.
it's so safe you can split custody.
for. Yeah. It's so crazy, man. I want babies don't tip either.
No. And by the way, the fact that both of you guys are talking about, I don't understand the Uber like people dropping off it and picking up at gas stations. I don't understand that.
Yeah,
thing
it just
either.
it knows how well you're like traveling around. If you happen to be on the route of like another person's final destination, they can like include you on as
So they
it, and
tell you to
split
go to
the
a gas
fare.
station.
Sometimes it'll be like the closest pickup point that makes sense logistically is like go on the corner of
Right,
the main
right,
street.
right.
So if like you live on the side street, instead of like going on Burnside, it'll be like 6th or Wilshire is the more. That's my extensive knowledge of LA at this point.
No,
Pretty
it's
good,
great. That
pretty
was
good.
great. That was great.
I
well,
was
they're
like,
the two
excellent.
streets near my house. So
I was like,
that's
this
why
guy
I know
lives
it.
here.
Okay.
This checks out.
All right.
I forgot.
I have to
forgot
go
you're from the
here in
Midwest.
Studio City. That's like the two places I know
Yeah,
at this
well.
point. Yeah.
Yeah, that's all you know. I know a guy that like worked at his job for like 20 years, and he only knew how to get to his home and his job in L.A.
Nobody needs to hear
Cliff
that.
Cash is with us. His car has crashed sideways.
Wait, is this some like David Bowie video?
Yeah,
Are you in
for
space?
sure.
He's in space.
I don't think he can hear us yet. Cliff, can you hear us? All right.
Oh. Not as,
Fantastic.
I can't hear anything.
You can't? Oh, that's too bad.
We're
I'm
saying-
here.
Cliff Cash is here
Oh
with
man,
us.
sorry about that.
Finally.
I'm like less tech savvy than your Meemaw. It's real bad.
Cliff Cash just put out a special on YouTube called The Long Road. It's really fantastic. I want to get into that in a little bit, but I just want to give the audience some background. I met Cliff in 2012 where he lived in Wilmington, North Carolina. I was doing a show at what was then called Nut Street Comedy, is now called the Crow. What is it called now? The Laughing
Dead
Crow?
Crow.
The Dead Crow. And Cliff shows up. He brings me a present. He brings me a tie because I think he saw my half-hour special and I wore a tie. That was really cool. And then we went out drinking, like really drinking, like North Carolina drinking, college town drinking. And then I went to bed because I was drunk. And then I saw you the next day and you said that you went to a rap battle after that and won the rap battle.
That sounds right.
So I'm
Well,
like,
we were hanging out with my friend who was a rapper, who
Right.
still is a rapper.
right. And so
Got
I'm
drunk with
like,
him last Thursday.
there's some personality on this kid. And then the next time I think I saw you, no, I saw you again when I would go back to the club. But after a certain point, I saw you at the SLO Festival, the San Luis Obispo Festival in 2017, and your life was completely different. I don't know if you get to it in the special, but if you'd like to talk about that right now, I'd love to hear. And the audience would
Sure.
love to hear like the difference between 2012 and 2017 for you.
Yeah, so I mean, when I met you, I had just started. Like I was maybe a year in, if that.
Yeah.
And so every headliner was just like, I was just like, this guy's a famous celebrity comedian, and and I remember really vividly you kind of being like, oh man, this shit's exhausting. Can't believe I'm still doing this. It's a grind. And
I was like
thinking,
37.
What are you talking about?
I was like
They're giving you
37.
money
Yeah.
to perform for 44 people in this basement that should be condemned, you know? I thought it was the coolest shit ever, and I'm dumb, so I still do. But I was very, very green and probably overzealous, and it was probably a lot. But I watched a couple of your videos, and you were like rocking these old school striped ties at the
Yeah.
time, and I'm a big thrifter, and so I saw one like the day before at the thrift store. I was like, I'm gonna get this dude a tie. And looking back on it now, if I showed it to my show tonight and somebody was like, oh, I got you these shirts you wear, I'd be like, okay, that's real intense.
Cliff, it was actually like,
But you were very kind and gracious.
but it was really cool. Like I was surprised, but I was like, well, it's kind of cool though. And I didn't throw the tie out. I kept it and I wore it. And also it's so funny to hear me say that I was exhausted back then because I was exhausted because I was drinking like that. It wasn't the
Yeah.
fucking comedy.
Right. Yeah. So fast forward to 2017, I had gotten, when I met you, I had a recycling business. I was like in the process of losing my ass in the real estate hustle. I used to flip houses and have some rentals and shit. I lost every bit of it in the '08 crash, which, it took time, which is why it took however long it took to, I say in the special, to properly lose your ass doesn't happen overnight. It's like a daily kick in the dick for years.
Right.
So I had lost my ass. I got married to a crazy person. I'd closed my business, and I was basically living in this station wagon. And I would go town to town. She was always mad at me, but I would be like, "Come visit me, babe. We don't have kids. Fly out here. Meet me somewhere cool, and we'll camp in the desert."
Yeah.
But I would just drive wherever. If I was in San Luis Obispo, then the next gig is like in fucking Modesto or wherever, and I go make $100, $300. I sleep in the car in between. if I had a week off, I would camp and hike and eat mushrooms in the woods. And
You would also,
to me, it was like it was the biggest adventure ever, because I had spent my youth like really chasing money and working like a 50-year-old man, and like looking back, I kind of wasted the best years of my life like chasing a dollar, which would have been more rewarding if it had worked. You know what I mean?
I hear
To
you.
like waste that amount of time and then have nothing to show for it.
I hear
So,
you loud and clear.
Now I'm living my 20s.
Yeah, and you've been doing it well, because one thing Cliff has going for him, I mean, you have a lot of things going for you, but an extra skill you have is you're really good at cars. And so you can soup up your car and go around the country without worrying about it. And you also did a cool thing where you took pictures of everything, and your Instagram is amazing, the places you've been.
Thanks, man.
What was it called? Million?
Yeah, I actually sell my nature photography after.
That's what it was. That's
Say
what.
again?
Yeah. No, you would sell pictures afterwards instead of like regular comedy merch. It'd be like pictures and art, and the tour had a title. It was like Million Miles Mercedes, right? Something like that.
Yeah. I was trying to put 1,000,000 miles in the station wagon. I got like a third of the way there. But now I got this van. I got divorced, and I got a tiny bit of money in the divorce, and I was like, I'm gonna buy a van to live in, like a fucking baller. So I can stand up in it, you know, like I feel rich.
Almost. You could almost stand up.
No, he can
Almost.
stand up in it.
No,
That's-
he couldn't go all the way. He stopped.
Cliff, you can. You were just trying to stay on
Yeah.
camera, right? All right.
okay.
Yeah.
So you're
yeah.
5'7". Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's what's.
5'10", bro.
I thought I was 5'8" for a long time, just based on my self-esteem. And then when I was like 40, I went into the doctor. They're like, "You're 5'10". I was like, "What?" Which sounds like nothing to you because you're tall, but to me, it's like, dude, I've been walking around with this 5'8" energy my whole life. Actually, made me feel
I
better.
was just say probably helped you get where you needed to
It
get
did.
to.
I
If you had
feel-
5'10", I don't think you'd be here today.
The past 10 years, you've seen an improvement in my mood.
yeah.
Okay, so that's what the intro to the special is great. It deals with what we're just talking about, Cliff's lifestyle, just very briefly. And then it's such a cohesive and personal story, but also there's such a cool political criticism of American society right now. So, like, I think this is the right special for the right time with this election coming up. And you do a very cool thing when you talk about politics and social things, which is you're like an insider. You're from North Carolina, which is mostly a red state, and you criticize kind of the new, I'll say, like MAGA way of thinking, from like kind of an intellectual standpoint. A lot of people do it like from a Trojan horse version. Like they're kind of like Larry the Cable the guy, but then they'll kind of like criticize with the sneak attack. But you are so brave in that like you openly criticize what you don't agree with. And what I'm asking you is, how hard was that to develop in this country? You have to develop this material. Did you get a lot of pushback on it?
Surprisingly, no. And part of that is I'm not as brave as you think I am. If I show up at like John Bill's barbecue comedy shack in the middle of nowhere and everybody's in camouflage, I'll tone it down a little. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because I don't want to be stabbed. And I also, I really want people to have a good time. I want the venue to ask me to come back. So some of these jokes, I can do them anywhere. And I sort of like defang them a little bit. I sort of take the edges off for the crowd if I think they need that.
Mm-hmm.
And then I know where I am. You know, I've done it enough and I understand people enough. I can kind of look at a crowd and know what I can get away with. And I know, oh, I'm in a cool college town or I'm in a dirt road, whatever area. So I kind of switch it up a little bit. But one of my goals with a lot of this material, some of it would just offend conservatives if they were in the crowd, and there's no way around it. But with a lot of the material, when I'm playing clubs or whatever, I try to say what I want to say without upsetting people, and that took me a long time to be able to do that, because it's sort of counterintuitive to really expressing a strong opinion. But I had a guy come up to me after a show. This happened a lot, but this one particular guy, he was huge. I mean, like 6'6", bald head, goatee. He looked like a cop, because he used to be. He comes up and he goes, "Hey, man, I don't agree with anything you said up there, but you're funny as hell."
That's great.
And I was like, "Well, thanks, buddy." And then he goes, "I'm a truck driving, gun toting, deer hunting, former state trooper, and now I'm a Pentecostal preacher. And I don't think anything you said was right, but you're really, really funny, man."
Did he give you 10
And I
minutes
was
to leave
like,
town?
Yeah, and then he tried to kill me, but
Well,
but to me, I was like, that's the biggest compliment.
it is.
You know, like
And I could see why it would work and why he would enjoy it, because two things: you're not angry while you're saying all these things, and you're also just not condescending. You know, it's not like it's a criticism and sometimes a satire, but it's almost like a constructive criticism. It's not an angry, and it comes from, like, you know, you're not like some coastal elite. It comes from somebody who they can, all right, we'll listen to you. You know, you bring that vibe, I
Yeah.
think.
Well, that's good to know, because it's cool that I don't appear angry, because I am filled with crippling rage, to be honest. So I love that I'm disguising it like that.
Well, yeah.
And I'm trying to be condescending, so it's weird that it's not coming off.
Well, I think one of the things that helps you after watching it is that when you come from a personal standpoint as well, it is you're interjecting your life, which is where you're coming from with a lot of this stuff. I think it helps. I think for a lot of people, if they just come off like they're an attack dog, like, and there's nothing personal behind any of it, I don't think it. You wonder how much you can get away with, or at least get more abrasive audiences. But because you bring your life into a lot of it and you weave it in, I think that makes a huge difference. And it also makes the material stronger, I think, anytime you can make it personal.
Yeah, it's such a cohesive special, and it goes from life event to life event to life event, and I was just really impressed with it. When you talk about how, like, 2016, 2017, your life kind of fell apart, your job, your house, your dad died, your dog died, you got a divorce. Was it also crazy, because I went through tough times in 2016, 2017 too, was it also crazy that, like, the government started, like, acting up? Like, did it not feel like the whole world was out of control?
Oh,
for
yeah.
you?
Yeah, I mean, the night that Trump won, I'm a political nerd. Like, I follow it like people follow sports.
Mm-hmm.
So I had, like, looked at an electoral map. I'd looked at past electoral maps, and I had been really publicly out there saying there's no mathematical way this dude can win. Like, he just can't.
Mm-hmm.
You can't win this country with, like, 0% of progressives or minorities or whatever. And clearly I was wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But the night that it happened, I had already lost my house. So we'd bought a house in my wife's name, because I had lost the one we were living in before that. So that had just happened. And I had been building my little niece a tree house. And, like, I hurt my shoulder so bad that I would wake up in the morning and my shoulder would be like this. Like, it was spasming towards, like, 4 inches higher than the other shoulder. I couldn't sleep. It hurt to move. It hurt to fucking breathe. Like, I was sleeping a couple hours a night for weeks. And I was up all night just in this, like, incredible physical discomfort in a toxic marriage, just having lost my ass, watching Donald Trump win the presidency. And I was like, what the fuck is happening? It was one of the lowest points of my life. But that's when I decided right then, I was like, I'm going on a nationwide tour and nobody's stopping me.
Yeah.
I can't spend the winter here. I'm going to go live in the station wagon, and I'm going to go to the desert, and I'm going to go to California. And so when I saw you, I left. I think I left New Year's Day that year. I saw you, I think, in March.
Yes.
I got home in mid-April to a divorce. So I was on the road nonstop for 4.5 months, living in the car. And I did, I don't remember how many shows I did in that 4.5 months. I know I did 22 just in LA in 15 days.
Wow.
And I was just out there like, man, somebody's going to see me. If I just keep busting ass and being funny and being nice, like somebody's going to see me and offer me something, and something's going to happen.
Sure.
And nothing did, and nothing still has.
Well,
and, so this special is my fucking Hail Mary.
The special is amazing. And you also, like, your Instagram account is amazing because of, I think it's actually more important nowadays than getting discovered in LA. Somebody can go look at, oh, Cliff Cash, who's this? And they go look at your Instagram and it's just thousands. Like, people will pay to read a book of pictures that like of your journeys. So it's really amazing. And then the special, I don't know. I see big things for it, man. I think watch it right now. Watch it before the election. How are you feeling about the election this time? We know we can't predict it. How are you feeling?
I'm not nervous that he can legally or mathematically win. I'm a little nervous about what he's going to try to do when he loses.
Yeah.
And that maybe he has the support of Russia's military might and not just some dirt road dipshits with their dad's guns or whatever. But I think as far as the action, if this is just a regular American election where we honor it and the loser accepts they lost, I think he's going to lose. I think he's going to lose every swing state or almost every swing state. I think he'll lose North Carolina and Georgia. I think he might even lose Florida. I think it's going to be bad.
What's the vibe like in North? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
But he's gonna say he didn't lose. He's already been ramping up to say he didn't lose. He's saying it's rigged before it's ever happened. So I just don't know what all the Proud Boys and Oath Keepers are gonna do, if they're gonna like jog around with their tits out or it's hard to say.
Yeah,
it's scary.
It's funny that they keep asking him. They're like, "Will you concede this election?" And it's like, we know he won't. No. We saw like violence last time. We never thought we would see anything like that. Now we just take for granted that happens. It's insanity.
It's the weirdest thing I've ever seen in my lifetime.
Yes.
I'm sure y'all probably feel the same way. It's like having a friend, and I've never really even experienced this, but it's the only metaphor I can think of, is like you have a friend who's in a relationship with a woman that they're like just so obsessed with and blinded by, and it's like, dude, she's cheated on you 7,844 times. Yeah. And the friend is like, that's bullshit. She would never do that to me.
Right.
It's like, dude, but there's so many instances of it that they become sort of numb to it. It's like he's a Russian operative and a rapist, and he's facing espionage charges, and he used your campaign money to pay legal fees. And the gold sneakers that you bought are never going to come. They're not coming. He's keeping the money. You're not getting the sneakers.
Right.
He's selling a Bible. Yeah. Him and Lee Greenwood have 9 marriages between them, selling a Bible to these people, a USA Bible made in China. And they're like, that seems okay to me. I don't even.
The weird part is it's like him. This is the guy. Like, I could see if it was just some beautiful movie star who was so smart and so good at government, but like you're throwing everything away for this fucking guy who was obviously always the butt of the joke. Like, what's happening?
100%.
All right. Well,
I've been saying that since he got in. I've said I'm not surprised at all that half of the country is brainwashed by a sociopath. I'm surprised they're brainwashed by a stupid, ugly sociopath.
I've always said that we got here for many reasons, but it all started, I have nobody else to blame but Robin Leach and Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous of the 1980s that fooled everybody into believing that these people were the best thing that ever existed in American culture.
Yeah.
And that's how we got dude.
And then The Apprentice, too.
Yeah.
The
But it
Apprentice.
still starts with Lifestyles of the Rich and
Definitely.
Famous.
That was like the vibe in the 80s.
And Hair Club for Men.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, he didn't go there.
No,
obviously.
he didn't have to, but again,
I'd love to talk to you all day, Cliff, but we got to go. I got to get a movie review out. Watch
Sure.
the special,
It
The
is great.
Long
It's
Road.
awesome.
It is fantastic.
yeah. It's on YouTube.
If you do one thing this weekend or whenever you're hearing this, check this special out tonight. You will not be disappointed. And Cliff, it's so great to talk to you, man. Good luck in your endeavors and adventures.
Thank you. Thanks a lot for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Right on. Later, Cliff. So, Aaron, can we go to Eric Wendell?
For a while there, I felt like we were talking to Matt Damon in the movie Martian.
Right.
Like he literally felt like he was on
Totally.
another planet, right? Because he had that, and I know it's to keep him warm and keep the car cool
Yeah.
and keep it, he's got all the insulation in there.
Yeah.
But it literally looked like he was in one of those things they built when they
He's
go to
totally.
like
I forgot to call him. He's like the Han Solo of comedy. Like he's just out on an adventure. But yeah,
He's
no,
just
he
a
looked.
galactic tour.
Yeah, I for some reason, of course, he was in the van. But for some reason, I thought he wasn't going to be in the van. But last time I had him on 4 years ago, he was in the van. So he lives in the van, rolling around,
Hey,
living
look.
life, dude.
He could have put a Wendell and found a dark spot in Walmart next to some.
Yeah, he did the opposite of what Wendell did.
Yeah.
Right? Like Wendell was like, fuck this, I'm angry. I'm going to hole up in Torrance and be upset about it. Cliff and the special is about it too. It's like all this terrible shit happened. I'll concentrate on the freedom of it all.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just going to get to driving and because these stand-up gigs, it's hard to make a living doing. And so he just would never go home.
Yeah, I just hope he doesn't punish himself too much for the fact that he's doing the right thing, which is he is his own business.
Yeah.
He doesn't need Netflix or anybody else
Yeah.
to legitimize what he did. It's
Right.
a very well put together and very good, solid stand-up special.
Yeah, it's very
Yeah,
relevant.
he doesn't need any other network or anybody to tell to validate.
Yeah,
He did it.
I know.
Right? He's his own business and he's his own success. And
No,
hopefully he will
it's-
recognize that.
It's amazing. I think he does recognize it. It's hard, sometimes you want your bank to recognize it as well.
yeah, you're right.
I think that's
You
only
got to
common
recognize
to-
the size of this beard.
This beard is getting incredible. It looks like a G.I. Joe Hasbro snap-on beard.
It's not real. I would agree. Wendell, you're missing. You're missing just enough.
It's real.
Okay, all right.
All right, Santa Claus. You get your second job's in season almost.
Ho ho ho, motherfuckers!
All right, never
Okay,
mind.
you're fired already.
You're getting cold, you little bastards.
Wendell, we don't have much time. Is there anything you want to tell us about your current life that's interesting, or should we get straight to the movie review?
I'm currently in the middle of a fight with the company I bought a gaming PC from. It crashed ever since I got it last March. Every time I use it,
Okay.
they're trying to tell me that the power outlets in this apartment are causing the GPU to crash because they can't recreate it at their headquarters because I had to send it back. Oh, okay. Sure.
I've never actually heard outlets are the problem. That's
Yeah.
a new
Yeah.
one.
Like
It's a
it's not like
stretch, right?
it's
What
not
a
like
fun
you're in
little
Europe,
gaslight. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Well,
Little do they know that I'm on a huge podcast with millions of listeners, and I will throw them under the bus weekly if they don't fix
Dude,
my computer
we're gonna trash
and send
them.
it back to me.
hundreds of people at a time are going to hear about this.
Where's that Yelp review?
That's right.
All right.
Oh man, I was already on the Better Business Bureau website, and
Really?
Unbeknownst to me, I should have done some more research. There was, I want to say 30 scathing reviews.
Right. Now there's
about this
31.
place. Sorry.
Just in
Yeah.
32. All right.
So apparently I should have done more research, and yeah, I don't know. We'll see how it
Well,
turns out.
let's give you a chance to give something a nice review. Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Maybe.
What movie are you reviewing this week?
I had the chance to see a movie called Killer Heat on
Okay.
Prime there a little while back, a couple weeks ago,
Okay.
and I hadn't had a chance to review it yet.
All right.
I have a little bit of it on the screen behind me there. I don't know if you can see
it's
that
hard to
very
see.
well.
That's
but
okay.
It's a little movie with Joseph Gordon-Levitt, Shailene Woodley, and Richard Madden.
Okay.
And for those that don't know, Richard Madden played, I forgot his name. He was on Game of Thrones for 22 episodes, and Shailene Woodley was on that Divergent movie series.
Okay.
And everyone knows who Joseph Gordon-Levitt is. So, anyways, it takes place on this Greek island. Joseph Gordon-Levitt is a PI in New York, and Shailene Woodley is the rich widow of a recently deceased rich billionaire type, like i.e. Succession type family. So she hires him. She thinks something was fishy about the way he died. He's an avid hiker or a climber.
Okay.
He's a free climber. Free climbing has its risks.
Does it?
No rope. Right?
The falling.
Yeah.
This
the
is a
falling.
side note.
Yeah.
This is a side note. Yeah.
For those that don't
Side
know, if you are
Yeah.
climbing a cliff without protection, you
Yeah.
could fall.
Yeah.
Continue.
Right. And then splatter all over the rocks below. And then, anyways, so he's there to investigate this because she thinks something's suspect. And there's some twists and turns and some family drama. Not quite as good as Succession type drama, of course, but it's the same type of family. And I don't want to give a lot away. There's a few twists and turns there at the end. It's a great location. She's not tough to look at or anything.
Okay.
And, you know what? I was entertained. My main gripe with the movie is the title, because it's kind of a lame title. Like, it doesn't really fit.
Say it again?
Most titles come out of some situation or thing in the movie, right?
What's the name of the title again? What's the title?
Killer Heat.
So
It's very vague.
now that you've
It's
seen
very
it,
vague.
now that
Right.
you've seen it, what would be like a working title from that you would give it?
I was trying to think of something creative and cool as a better title. I couldn't come up with one.
So like Heat
But
Killer or
just
something like that?
describing
or-
how hot the weather was is not the way to go for the movie.
What about the woman that's easy to look at?
Yeah. How about that for a title?
Yeah, there you go.
Or Don't Fall Off Cliffs or something like that. Or...
Yeah.
Every producer in the
careful
world
when-
would be like, "Why didn't I think of that? We got a girl that's worth looking at in our movie." All right, what are you gonna
Yeah,
give the?
I couldn't think of anything super creative, but I like
Well,
your stuff already.
You should have wrote for the movie then. What are you giving? What are you giving this movie?
I was entertained. It wasn't. They didn't blow me away with the twists and turns. You probably can guess a couple of them, maybe. I wasn't. I was surprised at some of it. You know what I mean? Like I didn't see all of it coming.
Was there
But,
a love scene?
unfortunately, there's no hot naked love scene.
Love scenes are like guitar solos in the like early 2000s. Like they were just kind of like out of style.
Yeah, you didn't read that thing that this new generation doesn't. They said enough of that stuff in movies. Just tell
Yeah,
a
like,
story. Stop
yeah.
the sex. You
Let's
didn't
see
see that?
Let's see a bunch of eunuchs get along in this world.
I disagree with the new
Shocking.
generation.
This is shocking.
I want to go back to the 80s where there's nice bouncing titties in every movie.
For no
for
reason.
no reason.
For no reason.
For no reason.
Just making sure
No
you're
reason.
awake.
And just so
You
we're
still
all
watching
clear,
the movie?
just so you've seen the movie
Yeah.
Airplane, right?
Oh yeah.
But that's the best part. That one of the ways you're growing up. That's if you seen the movie Airplane. Okay, so the gratuitous tits
It's
that
like-
bounce across the screen that's exactly what it
Right.
was there for.
It's 150 funny things,
Yeah.
and then here's some titties
and
real
here's
quick.
some titties because we know that's what you want.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Or Kentucky Fried Movie.
Oh, that was
They
the
didn't need to
best.
have the shower scene with the gigantic tits.
No,
pressed
they
up against
did
the
have to have
clear
that,
shower
Wendell.
window.
That was the
But
whole
hey, that was
punchline.
great.
That's actually the humor, but also it did kind of work hand in hand, if you will. Okay, what are you giving this movie?
You know what? I'll give it 3 ice cream trucks. I was entertained.
Okay,
It's not the greatest, but it's worth checking out. It's for free. It's
it's a-
on Prime.
it's a happy 3 ice cream trucks from Wendell.
Yeah.
Like he's smiling.
I mean,
it's like a B plus. It's like it's a little. It's like almost 3.5. It's like 3.1.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can
I mean,
tell.
it makes you want to travel. Like, I would love to be on this Greek island. It looks fucking amazing.
We got a
I'd love to be
theme.
sitting on that beach.
We got a theme for the
You know what I mean?
podcast. It's all wrapping up tight. All right, Wendell, that's going to do it for us. Great to see you. And have fun out there in Torrance. Peace out, fam.
Peace out, fam.
Pledge on Patreon, patreon.com/the full charge. And seriously, make sure you vote. Come on. What are you doing? Thanks for listening. We're out.